Ladies and gentlemen, here we are. This is the It's So Over podcast. My name is Zach Stoffer, and today I have
Ellie Ollivier.
Ellie.
Hello, you guys.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
This has been a while in
Oh
the
yeah,
making. Like Ellie and I we've been friends for a couple months now.
couple months, yeah.
But Ellie has her own podcast, if you aren't aware, and
Yes.
she's kind of really good at what she does.
Thank you.
And we have like kind of a funny story of how we met, but I've always been like, when are you hopping on my podcast? When are you hopping on my podcast? And so the fact that we're finally here, I think I've pestered her for enough, and she's like, all right, fine.
Yes, and we did a full episode with Zach on my podcast, you guys. So go
Yes.
check that out. He killed it, and it was such a good episode.
Thank you. Yeah, if you want to hear me talk about mental health, relationships, and kind of self-love, I feel like that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
the main gist. But yeah, that's on Ellie's podcast. It's cringe, but it's true.
It's cringe, but it's true.
Shout out,
Get out.
podcast. It's really good. But the premise of my podcast a little bit different. Basically, just for those of you who are watching this for the first time, I have people on. I think we all have stories and experiences that shape us into who we are. And I think that we feel a lot more alone than we actually are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that by having people share their experiences, their stories, you never know what helped you get through something. The wisdom you've learned through that can help someone else. And, I have a lot of crazy life experiences myself. So I kind of get to share a bit of myself as we do this as well. And I feel like it's fun. So, you ready for the first question?
I'm ready. Hit
'Kay.
me.
And also, another important thing is Ellie doesn't know any of these questions.
No.
For those of you who are watching me for the first time, I never tell anyone the questions beforehand because I want to capture their genuine, authentic reaction. With all that aside, question number one. If you were to be known for one thing, what would you want it to be?
Ooh, starting off with a bang. I think mine would probably be just like making a difference in people's lives, making people feel less alone, making people feel seen and heard. Like what I do on my podcast, we kind of talk about similar things.
Yeah.
And it has given me like such a purpose, the most purpose I've ever felt in my entire life. And like the DMs I'll get and messages from followers literally could make me cry even just thinking about it. But like just saying that it has made them feel like less alone or that it's relatable and like they didn't know anyone else was dealing with this and like it's the coolest thing ever. So I think I definitely want to be remembered for that.
I think that's amazing. And no, I feel like Ellie and I kind of relate a lot in like our podcast goals in that same way because I feel like there are so many people, kind of like I literally just said, like that feel so much more alone than we actually are.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many people that don't understand, like, maybe someone hasn't experienced the exact thing that they've gone through, but so many people have experienced something similar or similar enough to where it's like, oh wow, like I like didn't know that someone had been through something so similar to me and that person's gotten through it. So it's like not only can you overcome it now, but maybe some part of their journey can help you in yours. I just couldn't agree more. I'm new to the whole podcast stuff, but that's honestly one of the biggest reasons that I continue to do this. I mean, you just feel so much purpose. Like I've lived a lot of my life, believing that like I was alone and no one would understand and all of these things, but in doing this and sharing my story and sharing other people's stories as well, like you feel so connected. I always feel so good when I record episodes, when I'm about to record an episode, because I just get so excited because I'm like, I feel like this heals like a part of me, but I also love to think like, who else could this impact? Who else could this help? It's so awesome.
I think especially like in the age of social media right now, majority of everything you're seeing online is like super curated and specified to like show the best parts of people's lives, right? And like influencer culture is a huge thing, obviously. And you are seeing like day in my life or like get ready with me for the Bahamas. Like you're seeing the best, most pinnacle moments of those person's lives, right? Like, and I think it's cool to be able to kind of share things that are more like vulnerable and kind of more personal. And it's definitely was scary to share at first. I'm sure you've experienced that too. Like it's scary. It's very vulnerable to put yourself out there like that. But the rewards just completely outweigh any of the embarrassment I would ever feel because it just gives me so much purpose and it makes people feel less alone because it's such a great facet and such a great way to get all that information out there. Like social media can be an amazing tool if we use it as that, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And we're all human. I think is like the biggest thing is we all do have something in common that we're all living life and experiencing things in our own times, in our own ways, but we all experience kind of the same major parts of life. And I feel like, with mental health, with like relationships, those are things that I think we all experience, whether it's in our personal lives or it's around us. And so, like, I feel like you talking about a lot of that in your podcast is like, it's so awesome. I love listening to it. I love being
Thank
there.
you.
I've been not like a part of a couple episodes, but I was there for one, did another one. It's so cool to see, like, you know, what's the word I'm thinking? I just went blank.
So real.
um, it's so cool to see the reach that you can have and just the impact that you can have as well. Because, I mean, it's not like I do this so that I can feel good because I helped other people. Like it's just so gratifying being like, hey, like I was that person in a comment section that was like, oh my gosh, you have no idea how much this helped me or how much that changed my life. And it's kind of like it's so surreal and cool because I've had a couple people reach out to me and be like, hey, like what you said like really resonated
Mhm.
with me. Like I needed to hear that. And I'm like, it's just so awesome because I don't know. I'm a very big believer in like there's a purpose in all things. And for so much of my life, I'm gonna open up here. Oh, for so much of my life, I went through all these crazy, terrible experiences. And I kind of sat there and I was like, is my purpose just to suffer? I wondered like, does God hate me? All these things. And I really struggled in a lot of ways, but through this podcast and through listening to other people do their own podcast, it's like I finally found a purpose. It's like I feel like in my experience, like I've been given experiences and stories to share. For so long it was what is the purpose behind all of this? And now it's like I'm not like a masochist, but I get like excited when I go through hard things now
Mhm.
because I now have this narrative brain, first of all, where I'm like, oh, I can make this into such a good story. But it's also like the more life you live, the more you're able to relate and help other people, I think. And that's helped me so much. Like it's given me, like you said, such a purpose. It's given me this like, man, like so much of my life before where I was just really confused and hurt over it. It's almost like healed me in ways because it's like I feel like I've been through all of that because now I can do this.
Mhm.
Now I can have this podcast and I can turn outward and say, my pain was, something really hard and difficult, but it now has a purpose. And there's no greater feeling than that. I love it. This whole podcast thing is just, it's the best. And shout out Ellie because right as I started my podcast, this is part of how we met. I was DMing
Yes.
her and I was like, hey, I'm starting a podcast. I have no idea what I'm doing. What's some advice you could give me? So Ellie played a big part in me even being here and doing all of this. So shout out her.
Thank you.
This is all just so awesome. Happy to be here,
Me
happy
as
that
well.
you're here.
Yes.
But are we ready for the next question?
Let's do it.
Okay. What is something you've learned or experienced recently that has stuck with you?
Ooh. I think really just kind of piggybacking on what you were just barely saying, like the hard things that we go through in our lives happen for a reason. Like I love the quote that's like God wouldn't give you something if he didn't think you were strong enough to handle it. And it really is so easy. Like I've been through a lot of really hard times and really dark places in my life with my mental health. And I've kind of been in the trenches, just kind of being like, why me? Like, what did I do to deserve this? Like, why am I here? Like, is this it for me? Am I ever going to be okay again? Right. And like psychologically too, our brains do so much better when we turn the hard things that we go through in our life into like a purpose or meaning. Right. So like now just like kind of being out of those really hard places, it's been like about a year since I was in a really dark place with my mental health and just kind of seeing like the impact that had on me as a person, like it's kind of almost gotten to the point where I'm like, I wouldn't change that for the world. Like I'm so grateful that I went through that because if I didn't go through that, then I wouldn't be who I am right now. Like the hard things that we go through in our lives, they teach us so much about ourselves, about the world, and it makes you more empathetic and like have more compassion for others, right? Like before I feel like I didn't really have the emotional capacity to like be able to be there for people as much, right? Because I hadn't really experienced anything that really rocked me. And then once I kind of had some experiences like that, like I have made it obviously now like my life's mission to have a platform where I really try to help people not feel like this or not have to feel like alone in the way that I did.
Hmm. This is so awesome hearing because this is exactly how I feel.
Mhm.
Like kind of I said earlier, it's like it's so awesome kind of turning some of the worst moments into your life into like I have this like belief it's like your pain is either your power or your prison. You
Mm.
know, you can use it to motivate yourself and motivate others, or you can kind of sit there and say, woe is me, my life is awful. And I think when you give it purpose, there's no like there's no greater path than that, I think. Because I cannot tell you how much I relate and feel what you just said. I'm just sitting there like, man, I'm listening to me over here. You know, it's like I feel so strongly like similarly to you. It's just it's a hard things and hard experiences in our life. Like they're so difficult, but I know there's purpose in everything.
Mhm.
I think that you know if I had to go through all of this again to be where I am today, I would without a doubt. I'd do it hundreds of times over because you know, I'm so like in the moment that I had gone through things in the past, I was like, man, like, you know, just like you I was like, why me?
Mhm.
What is going on? Like, do you hate me? Are you there? All this stuff. It's so hard and it really broke me in a lot of ways for so much of my life. But being kind of like on the outside of it now, it's like, wow, like I understand. It makes sense. It's like it's not that God didn't love me or he hated me. It's that he loved me enough to know how strong he needed me to become.
Mhm.
And by that, I mean, like, he put me through some really crazy stuff because he knew I could overcome it. He knew I was strong enough. But he also knew what I would make of it all. And that I wouldn't just sit there and say, man, my life sucks. I'm going to go, you know, do like something meaningless with it.
Yeah.
Not saying that I'm, you know, super meaningful right now, but I'm trying, you
You
know?
are.
It's so awesome. There's this quote that it's literally written over there, but I think it's by Picasso. I tried finding out if it was by Picasso, but ChatGPT was not really being cooperative. But it's like the purpose of life is to find your gift. Or no, I'm sorry. The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. And
Mm.
I feel like that has resonated so strongly with me because I feel like my meaning and purpose in life has been I've been gifted so many stories. I've been gifted so many experiences. And now I'm doing my part where it's like I found where you know, I'm supposed to be, and I'm giving it away. I'm now trying to turn it into purpose and trying to turn it into meaning. And I love that quote so much because I feel like that is like what I'm trying to do with my life now. And I feel like what you're trying to do with yours as well.
Mhm.
You know, we've had these experiences that have shaped us. And I feel like we've kind of taken it a step further from, you know, hey, this isn't just me and my life, but like everyone around us has their own uniquely complicated lives where they may have gone through something similar or they may have gone through something completely different, but we all have struggle. We all have hard times and hardships. And I just think it's so awesome that, you know, we both are kind of trying to make more of our situations to benefit other people.
Mhm.
You know, it's like kind of like I said earlier, it's like every time I go through something hard, I'm like, man, like
Yeah.
this is going to be awesome because content, but yeah, but also it's like, man, like I feel like this makes me more equipped to help other people. Yeah, I think that, you know, kind of piggybacking a little bit off of what I said in the beginning of the video, it's like I think people feel so much more alone than we actually are. Like there is so much empathy that you can have for other people when you've been through hard things. You can say like, "Hey, like I may not have gone through what you've been through, but I've been through some hard times myself, so I know and I understand what it's like to struggle." And as far as like mental health goes, what we talked about in our episode, you know, when you have an understanding of mental health, it just gives you so much more empathy towards other people. I think with hardships in life in general, like some of the most humble people are obviously some of the most kind because they're going to be understanding to, hey, like, I understand what you're going through. But it just feels so much more impactful when someone kind of sits you down and goes, hey, I've been through what you've been through. First of all, you're not alone.
Mhm.
But second of all, you will get through it because I did. And I'm no different than you. We're all just normal humans out here. And I think there's so much power in that. And it's just so awesome. Like making purpose out of your pain and suffering
Mhm.
is I feel like kind of a message we're getting at here, and I love it. This is awesome.
And I love what you were saying too about like when you go through hard things, you just have a lot more empathy and more understanding for like everyone else. Like you might not know exactly what someone went through or like had the exact same situation happen to you, but you have a general understanding of struggles and mental health and being in a dark place, right? Like the closest friends that I have in my life that I go to and confide in and talk to about like the struggles and mental health stuff I've had in my life, they don't relate exactly to what I went through, but they have had their own set of struggles, right? Like, so it makes like we talk about this too. We were having this conversation the other day where we were saying like we both want to find a partner that's hopefully like been through something hard, which sounds kind of like morbid and just like rude, but it's like we kind of want someone like that so that they can relate to us, right? Because it really does give you such a better just general understanding of that kind of stuff and more empathy towards this person and what they're feeling.
100%, 100%. Yeah. No, it's not like I guess it kind of is a deal breaker. Like I dated someone before that just like had not okay. Obviously, our lives are personal to ourselves, and what may be hard to me may be easy to someone else and vice versa. But I dated someone that just had like no experience with mental health. No like really defining moments in their life that were super difficult other than like, oh, I got to be in my class. Like and that person and I like whenever I would have my struggles and I would have like my hardships, it was just like there was no empathy. There was no compassion. It was you aren't okay and I don't like it.
Yeah.
Like I'm sorry you don't understand. Like, oh my bad. But no, things like that have stuck with me to where it's like, I think it is really just like a deal breaker. Like I need someone who has character.
Hmm.
I need someone who has been through hard things and has found out who they are. Stuff like that. It's really important to me because when you have someone who hasn't had those experiences or who doesn't know who they are, it just makes it so difficult.
Mm.
But we can get into dating
Yeah,
in a
there's
future
so much.
episode. That's just a little side tangent. Are we ready for the third question?
Yes.
What is something you believe but still struggle to live out?
Oh. Okay, I think something that I believe to my core, but every day I think is still hard to remind myself of, is the saying that hurt people hurt people. And, even like reflecting on my own life, sometimes when I'm like struggling or like, in a bad mood or something, I can kind of like sense myself like I'll be scrolling on social media and I feel like I'm judgmental or maybe I'm rude to my mom or something. And it really is like it's the most like groundbreaking realization to have and to learn that when you are hurt, like when people are hurting, they subconsciously or consciously kind of hurt others sometimes, right? And it just gives you such a more like more understanding of people and the world. And it's helped me see like, oh, this person's being mean to me instead of being like, screw you, da da da. It's more like, I'm so sorry. I hope you're okay. Because if you are at, like have a lot of discontent with yourself or feel very bad about yourself or you're in a bad place, you can kind of project that, right? And take down on other people. So I think that is something that I know and I always say, but even for me is hard to come to terms with myself and realize when I'm being that person, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think self-awareness is huge, you know? It goes both ways. You're like, like when someone's being really mean or not understanding or things like that, you're just like, okay, they're struggling.
Mm-hmm.
Very likely. I don't think people are just malicious and evil because they want to be. I think that I completely agree. And it's so hard to give people that empathy and be like, hey, like, I'm so sorry. You're probably going through a hard time. At first, I like to crash out back at people. I'm a little too eye for an eye at times. Like, someone's mean to me. I'll be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let me match that. But having, some self awareness, I try to calm myself down and be like, okay, you know what? They're probably going through something really hard. I think that is just a really good life lesson to have, but also to still accept that, hey, them treating you that way, even though you can understand it, doesn't exactly make it okay.
Mm-hmm.
And also applying that to yourself where it's when I'm going through a really hard time, like, am I, short and snippy or, have a shorter fuse with my friends or in certain situations? It's crazy how much we can understand from another person's life from their actions.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is a really big thing is people's actions will tell you so much more about how their life's going than their words will. And I think that actions versus words also kind of plays into relationships as well. Like, if someone is always saying one thing and then doing the other, it's like I think we had a conversation
Yes.
the other day where it's like, okay, this person's saying this to you, but what are their actions telling you?
Mm-hmm.
Are their actions backing up what they're saying? And, sometimes having that little breakaway moment where you're like, "Oh, they actually aren't. Huh. Okay. This one's not scripted, but it's something I just feel like asking you. What is the most beneficial thing that you have done for your life?
Ooh. I keep saying that after every question. I'm like, ooh, good. Well, it
Oh,
hit. I think, okay, if we're going like physical aspects, I've really tried to do a lot with my physical health. Like working out's been very important. I know that's so cliche and oversaid. Like, work out and you'll feel better, but like genuinely, like screw how it makes you look, whatever. Like the way that I've felt like kind of implementing a lifestyle to really like take care of my body and my physical health has directly affected my mental health and just the person that I've been. So I try to like walk every day, work out occasionally, right? And like eat good. Cause it's like what you put into your body is what's gonna come out of your body. You know what I mean? Like kind of goes hand in hand with that.
I think that's awesome. I think your physical health is kind of like it's oversaid, but it's still undervalued.
Yeah,
Because something that I've realized too is like I've been a little more consistent with like my physical health is your physical health kind of it helps you with all the other categories. Like
totally.
your mental health, like for me, working out has become such a release. I've gotten back into running, and running is like my safe space. Like whenever I go for a run, I just feel so good afterwards. And it also just like, I don't know, like it helps me sleep. Like working out kind of bleeds into all aspects of my life. It helps my confidence, it helps me just feel better and operate better. And obviously, as you take better care of your body as you get older, like you'll be able to function better for a much longer period of time.
Hmm.
I think our physical health is definitely like it's undervalued. I think a lot of us are like, oh, we're young, we can do whatever. It's like, no, like build those habits now.
Yeah.
You don't want to build those habits when you're 40 and your knees hurt and you don't want to walk, Like when it's like, man, my back hurts every day, my neck hurts, I have arthritis in my knee. That's not the time where you want to go, man, I want to start taking care of myself now. It's like, do you take care of your car as you're driving it or when there's problems?
Mhm. And that kind of like is a form of self-love in a way too, right? Like another thing to answer your question is like I make it my life's mission to improve myself every day in a little tiny way or a big way, right? Like I'm always trying to become the best version of myself. So I read a lot of like self-help books. I listen to a lot of podcasts, obviously, and I do a lot of research for my podcast. And I think that's obviously been something like the growth that I have seen personally in myself in the last like 2 to 3 years of me kind of doing this podcast has been like exponential in how I've developed and grown as a person and like seen myself and viewed myself differently. I think like have you read the book like How to Win Friends and Influence People?
Okay, I have heard of that book a lot, and I've kind of read a couple things from it, but I've not read it.
Literally changed my life. And I think like in a social way, I feel like I always used to be like loudest one in the room, always talking. I'm pretty like energetic like that, right? But something that that book taught me that literally stuck with me is like sometimes the best conversationalists are people who just kind of like sit there and listen to people. I think podcasting is also definitely helped with that. I know we're keep relating this to podcasting, but and like
It's what we do.
yeah, and just like I have developed a way closer relationships with people just being like super invested in them. So like instead of like being like, okay, this is about me, like guess what I did? Guess what's going on in my life? Like of course you can have a balance, but be invested in other people and like genuinely care and show interest in other people. And that has just been one of the most conducive things to all of my relationships. And like you feel good about yourself, like when you are investing in other people. And again, there has to be a balance. If you are giving 100% to this person and like just so invested, but they're not asking or reciprocating anything about you or your life, then that's an issue. But I think something that just really switched when I changed from just like trying to impress people with me and all the cool things I was doing and where I was traveling and just like focusing on others, right?
Yeah. I think kind of the underlying message that I'm hearing from you in this little like question and segment is that loving yourself is probably the best thing you've ever done, or like learning to love yourself and working on that. I loved what you had to say with I'm always trying to improve on something every day. I think that there are some people that, they view it one of two ways. They're like, oh man, like I'm so flawed. I need to fix something about me every day, or like not even every day, but like I think there's a negative way that you can kind of view it. Like, oh man, like I have so many issues. But like, no, it's like you are who you are, but you can always change and you can improve. Like you can always be better.
Yeah.
The last episode I just did with Carson, it'll be out by the time I have this, but um something that you said made me think of something he said. He kind of referenced this one clip of Matthew McConaughey's Oscar acceptance speech, where he said, like, who's your hero? It's me in 10 years. And like, I loved that. I love that. And he and I kind of delved into that, but I feel like it kind of applies here. It's like when you're trying to, like, improve and work on yourself and loving yourself, it's like, I like to imagine like, okay, if I was looking back at me from 10 years ago, would I look back at me and be like, well, that's my hero? Like, man, like he's been everything that I've been trying to become, and then I kind of ask 10 years from now, it's like, will I look back and will I be able to say this person that I am right now in 10 years, the person that I will be then? Like, will that be my hero? Will that be the person I'm like, I'm so proud of everything they've overcome, all the work they've put into themselves, the ways they've loved themselves and taken care of themselves. And I don't know, I just love that. It made me think of that, the way it's like there's always something you can work on. There's always something you can improve. And that's not because, you're lacking or, we're all imperfect. We all have things, but you really can try to be at least better with something each day. You can be more mindful. You can go to the gym. You can implement habits, and habits take time is
Mhm.
another thing as well. Obviously, like I'm such like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a dramatic change kind of person where it's like sometimes I just want to be better and a different person tomorrow. Doesn't always work like that, obviously. It's the small and simple things that you do each day.
I love that Matthew McConaughey thing. I've never heard that before, but I think about that sometimes. Like, something I'll do is when I feel like with my content and stuff, sometimes I'll get a little tinge of like, ooh, are people thinking this is weird? Like, are people judging me? And then I'll be like, well, myself 10 years ago, if she saw me today doing what I'm doing and just the person, like, screw the social media, just like the person that I am today now, like, I genuinely think that she would be so proud of myself. And then you can apply that to continuing to improve yourself in your life. Like the person I'm going to be in 10 years, right? Like that is my idol. That is someone that I look up to because, again, yeah, I love what you said. Like it's not that you're imperfect. I mean, we all are imperfect, but it's not that you need to be fixed or, changed. Like we're not going to ever be the perfect person. Like when I'm like 85, I'm still going to be trying to improve myself, right? Like, and just finding any little thing in any facet that I can improve or grow in some ways, right? Like socially, physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, all of these categories, you can always improve yourself.
Absolutely. It's so awesome. I get like a little emotional thinking back, like, like what was 15-year-old me, thinking right now? And I was like, the 15-year-old me was so lost. He had no idea what he was in for. But I think that if you were to look at me today, like he would just be like, man, like I'm so proud of you. And I think that sometimes is enough. It's to kind of think of like, if anything, like I do kind of do this in a way, like something I may say may be dumb, something I say may be cringe. Oh, oh. But it's humbling and it's amazing to be like, you know what? Like I know that I'm doing this for the ways I used to struggle, for how I used to feel so alone. Like a lot of what motivates me is I've been in those hard, low, difficult places, and I'm like, man, like I don't want anybody to be where I was. I don't want anybody to struggle and suffer as I did. And so if I can, and you don't know, like I do this for like the 15-year-old me, the me in high school, the me fresh out of high school off his mission, the 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 person that I've been throughout my life. I do a lot of this for them because you never know how many people are going through just what you were at that time. That is just like, so like I try to work on myself and improve and be better, not just, so like I can be a better person, but I also do it for the person I used to be, to be like, hey, like, like we did overcome this. We got through this. We learned how to manage this. And I don't know, I get all emotional and
Yeah.
just sappy with that, but I like to kind of challenge, people listening right now, like, would you what would the version of you 10 years ago think of who you are now? If it's I'm proud, or like would they be proud of you? Would they be happy with where you're at? I like to think that when I was a kid, like I wanted to be like an astronaut. So I don't think I've made him proud, but I still think that he would look at what I'm doing and say, "Man, like you finally found your place in life. You found out who you were." And I think that he would be so proud of that. But, you know, would your younger self be proud of you? Would your younger self be like, man, like they finally overcame this. They finally did this. It's just like a fun question to ask yourself because it's humbling. Because I've had moments in my life where that was such a motivator for me because I looked at the moment I was in and I said, man, like 15-year-old me wouldn't be happy right now.
Mm.
He would not be proud of me.
And I think like every single person's answer out there should be yes to that question because maybe you thought when you were 25 you're going to be an astronaut or going to be married and have a stable career, or like, certain things in your life, right? Like, I definitely thought that I'd be a lot further than I was now, but it also is like you are still here and you've still like that enough is perfect. That's amazing. Like, you've got through all of the really hard challenges and even just the monotonous, like mundane challenges in your life, right? Like, you've made it to this person that you are today. And another thing that you kind of touched on was just that, like, a quote I live by is you never know what people are going through. And I think, like, in my life, experiences I've gone through, and like when I really was like in the trenches with my mental health, nobody knew. And I've always been a very like bubbly, like vivacious, like person. I've always been like the spunky fun girl, right? Like that was like what I was known for, literally. And I kind of felt like that was like my obligation. Like that was who I am. This is Ellie. I have to show up as that. I have to be that, or else people are not going to like me. And every time I would feel like a sad emotion or something, I would just be like, nope, we're good. We're happy, Ellie. Like, this isn't who we are, right? And I think, like, this, like, a year or two ago, going through these really hard things, like, I was like, it rocked me to my core because I was like, who am I? Like, identity crisis. People aren't going to love me if I tell them that I went through this anymore, right? And I would just act like everything was fine. And I think it taught me a big lesson of just like being vulnerable with people and opening up to people about the struggles and hard things you're going through only makes people love you more. And it's so freaking scary, believe me, I know, to be like, maybe tell a friend that you don't really have that relationship with that, hey, I'm really struggling right now, or I just went through this hard thing, or I need your help. And it's like you feel like you're going to get rejected. But I can promise you that that person will love you even more because it makes you relatable, real, and genuine. Like, you are a real person with struggles. No one wants someone who is perfect. And I think I always think about that too. Just like, I know that when I was there, no one knew what I was going through when I was in it. So I try to like live my life and go throughout my day being like, you have no idea if the swig worker today was thinking of ending their life tomorrow, or really just didn't want to be here, or was wanting to hurt. Like, just, you never know. We see their face and their smile, maybe, and what they say, but you have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. So just give everyone that grace, give yourself that grace, and treat everyone the way you'd want to be treated if you've been through that. You know what that feels like, and you don't want anyone to ever have to feel that way.
Yeah. No, I actually have a little story that I thought of when you said that. I used to work at this breakfast place, and I had this girl come in one time, and there was literally like nothing. She was with a group of people. They all ordered their food, and she ordered like gluten-free pancakes or something like that, and she wanted bananas on top. And for no reason at all, I just had like a feeling to put a smiley face with like the little cut bananas on the pancake. And later on, I connected with her, and she kind of like told me, she was like, "Hey, like I don't think you understand how much that meant to me." She like opened up to me and was like, "Hey, like I was really struggling with, like not wanting to, live anymore, and I was trying to find anything to grab onto to have hope or smile or anything like that." And she told me that that little thing that I did was enough to get her through the day, and that she, kept going from that. And I'm like, I literally like in from my perspective, like I just had a random thought, like, man, like we're putting bananas on a pancake, let's make it into a smile.
Mm-hmm.
And like you never know the impact that you can have on other people. And I think something as well to add on to that is like just be kind to people.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think, like a couple of things that you said, it's like when you're just nice to people, like you never know the impact you can have. Like I had no idea. And I probably would have never known if I never reconnected with her about that. But it's the impact that you can have. You don't have to go do some grand life changing gesture a lot of times. If you can be anything, just be kind to people, and you never know who needs it or who's just having the worst day of their lives. And the random act of kindness or the little note you left them or the smile you put on a pancake just changed everything. I mean, I've had moments like that in my life where I've had random experiences or encounters where it's like, wow, like I needed that. That
Mm-hmm.
got me through today. So I guess like definitely being that person for other people is awesome. one thing that you did say earlier about like opening up to others that I kind of want to like not say the other side to, but I think that the right people for your life absolutely will always be understanding and they'll
Mhm.
always love you more and they'll always accept you more. But I've definitely had some experiences in my life where I've opened up about my mental health struggles and other things. And there have been people that either were not capable or were not willing to
Mhm.
understand or work with it. And I think that is something that, you can experience. And I'm not saying that to like be afraid of like, like what the point that I'm trying to say is the right people for you and the right people that are going to be in your life will love you more.
Mhm.
They will not view you as less. They
Yeah.
will not treat you as less. I used to be so scared and I still am. I'm still very guarded with like opening up about my struggles in life because I every single friendship that I've had at one point or another has used it against me. They've been like, "Hey, like I need someone that isn't this and you are that." And I'm like, "Oh, but what I have to remind myself, and if you've ever experienced that, or if you ever do experience that, what I want you to remind yourself is the right people for you will never do that to you.
Mhm.
Like I think that like I fully trust you. If I were to open up to you, like I know that Ellie would she would see me as so much more and she would appreciate and value me and all these things and it wouldn't change. But there will be people in your lives that maybe won't. But what I would hope you understand is that is not a reflection of your self-worth. That is a reflection of their lack of love and care. I don't think that you should see someone else not accepting you or supporting you in your struggles as like, oh my gosh, I'm too much. I'm not enough. Blah 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 blah. This is actually one of the questions that I was gonna ask you, but I kind
Okay.
of just want to get into it. That is a whole bunch of BS. There is no such thing as being too much for the right people. I love to say that I will always be too much for the wrong people because they will never be enough for me.
Mhm.
I think that when you open up about your struggles, mental health, relationships, just your hardships in life, when you open up about them, the right people, I keep saying that exact saying. There are going to be people that are not for you that you have to come to realize in this life, maybe through your own experience or through experiences like opening up to them, whatever it may be. Like, there are people that are meant for you and your life. The right people will always love you. They'll always treat you right. Well, maybe, maybe they're human. Maybe not
Yeah.
always, but you get what I'm saying. I think that it's just important to touch on that because I've definitely been let down
Mhm.
sometimes before by opening up to people and it's made me afraid, but I'm no longer afraid because again, I just have this belief that, what is meant for me will be meant for me. And I control what I can control. If I open up to someone and they say, "Oh, that's actually too much." Okay, then you've served your purpose in my life. We can move on now.
Yeah.
Like you weren't meant to have a part in my life because the right people for me would be able to be understanding. They would care about me more. They wouldn't use this as a weapon
Mhm.
against me.
I agree with you 100%. And I should have clarified that because I totally agree. And also have had instances in my life where I've opened up to people and they disappeared from my life. And it hurts because it's so easy and we are all so quick to be like, well, what's wrong with me? Like, uh-oh. But that has nothing to do with you and everything to do with their capacity to handle the situation, right? Like, you are never going to be too much for the right people with any instance or circumstance in your life, right? Like, some people really just might not be able to handle that or have maybe they're going through their own thing where they don't feel like they have the emotional capacity to be there for you or be what you need or even handle that information because like sometimes it can be heavy, but yeah, the right people and people that you feel close to, like, you don't have to go telling everybody like what you're going through. Like, you definitely hand pick and select like who you want to open up to, someone you know will hopefully reciprocate and love you for you.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. It's, self love and also self acceptance. Like, I think kind of like playing off of some of the messages from earlier in this podcast, like, the more you love yourself, the less those kind of feel like rejections
Mhm.
and more just like redirections. It's like, hey, like, them not accepting me doesn't mean that I'm a failure or that I'm not enough. It just means that they weren't capable.
Mhm.
And, I think also sometimes that's like, I don't think it's always malicious either. Like, there have been some great people that I've had in my life that just aren't equipped to understand me in a way that I wish they would. And, I kind of struggle with that for a while, being like, man, I wish this person could understand me or at least try to. But from their background or their experience, they just can't. That doesn't make them a bad person. but it does just make them not right for you.
Mhm.
And I think there's a way of saying, hey, they're still a good person, but they're just not meant for my life or me.
Mhm.
I think, I love humanizing people
Yeah.
for sometimes to my detriment. Someone will do me terribly
Yep.
wrong and I'll be like, well, actually, they, you know, they're so human just like me. I can understand it. But so, obviously that you should proceed with caution when you humanize things, but I love doing that. I love when you humanize other people and you humanize yourself. It again, empathy. Empathy is so huge. Understanding that you are human and so is everyone else.
Mm.
Understanding that everyone else has so many problems and life struggles just like you. This world and this life is so much bigger than just us. And I think so many times we kind of get caught up in our own stuff that we forget that the person two houses down from me could be going through some of the craziest thing ever
Mhm.
and I wouldn't know, but I could also wave to them when I'm walking by. Hey, how you doing? Whatever. Something small or simple. I just kind of love all of that. I love how it all kind of bleeds together. Just loving yourself, being kind to other people, um, kind of just finding peace in those things. I think it's all awesome.
And I think like naturally by nature, as humans, we are selfish creatures. It's, you know, really easy to just be like, me, focus on you, which is kind of, this is kind of counterintuitive. Like, I always preach like self love, like, focus on yourself. You should be your best friend. You should be like, you are putting all your energy into you, but not at the detriment of not being there for others or just aware that you are not the only person in this world that matters, right? Like, my mom always has told me, like, you're special, but you're not more special than anyone else. And that is how I've always lived my life because it's not like put others always above yourself. Like, there's a little bit of a teeter totter. Sometimes you might have to do that, right? And sometimes I think a lot of time you should be putting yourself first in most situations. But yeah, just like I think like service, this is so like tacky to say, cheesy, but like doing something that's bigger than yourself. Like I know in low moments of my life where I felt like maybe super depressed or just anxious or just like sad in my life. I'd be like scrolling on social media and I'm just like my life sucks. Like what am I doing here? Like what is happening? And then just like we would do these like humanitarian trips where we would do like service for a family in Mexico who doesn't even have food. And it's like, whoa, like reality check. Like life is so much more than just like it kind of puts things into perspective, not to minimize what you're feeling, but also just to be like there's a lot going on in the world. Everyone's struggling in some way, right? And like turning outwards and like focusing on others in a way and like sharing that light and helping people when you feel like you are capable of doing that is so, so, so imperative for your mental health.
I love that. No, 100%. I think not to be that guy. I think that I'm doing this right now. But an experience I had on my mission.
Oh, missionaries.
Oh,
Welcome to
missionary,
Utah.
right? But no, my first ever realization with that was when I was on my mission.
Mhm.
My mission president, he sat me down, he would do these interviews. And I was like, I'm struggling this, I'm doing this. And he goes, why are you out here? And I'm like, I want to help other people. I mean, just think of how much joy I would feel when I,
Mhm.
was able to help someone else and bring them to the church, whatever, all this stuff. And he goes, I can't remember the exact wording, but in essence, very roughly summarized, he was like, because I was really struggling in my mission. He said, I think your problem is that you're really selfish. He's like, you're doing this for you and what you can benefit and how you'll be a better person. And not one bit did you ever say, like, I'm doing this for other people. And I was like, that really, like, it was jarring to me. Because I was sitting here like, I'm struggling, me. My life is hard right now.
Mhm.
And he goes, you're being really selfish. And I was just like,
Yeah.
but that years later was like the first moment that I kind of realized, like, wait, like, this is so much bigger than anything I know or understand. Like, I had unknowing, like you said, like, we are all, I think, kind of by default selfish in a way. Like, we're
Mhm.
very focused and honed in on our own lives. I love, going out and doing service or helping someone else, like, or just doing something good for someone else whenever you're having a hard time. I think that, or whenever you're having like a really good time, still doing that. Like, I think taking this is like one of my most used figures of speech, but like taking a step out of your own shoes,
Mhm.
like taking your shoes off and understanding, looking away from the problem, what your current life is. Like whenever you're going through a hard time, like go do something good, go for a walk, whether it's good towards someone else or good for yourself. Like I love that. I
Mhm.
love that. There's so much more to this life than just like our own problems, than just us. And I don't know, that was just an experience I had where I was just like, that was my first kind of realization, like, wow, like I'm not the center of the universe. The world is bigger than my life's issues and problems. The world will go on after me and my life's issues and problems. It's like, it's humbling. And it's also just like gratifying to kind of tie this all back together. Like when you love yourself, when you understand that your problems are not infinite, they are finite. They will end. There will be many more in the future, but as you kind of overcome them, like you build a story for yourself. You shape experiences that you have. I've loved this whole episode in kind of making purpose out of suffering and understanding yourself and knowing yourself, being self-aware. I think those are all kind of themes that we've talked about, and I've loved this. This has been so awesome. I mean, Ellie has her own podcast. I said in the beginning, she's really successful with what she does, and she's
Thank
genuinely
you.
just a great person. Like,
Thank
I would highly, highly recommend going to check out her podcast. She talks a lot about mental health, self love, relationships, a lot of the things that we've kind of
you. Yeah.
sprinkled into today's episode. But no, I've loved this. I guess for the final question, this one isn't scripted, but you know, to kind of end this episode, what would you want other people to learn or understand for their own lives?
I think just that you are already enough, exactly the way that you are. I know in my life I chase this false sense of reality to be like, oh, well, when I get this, then I'll be worth something and then I'll be good enough for myself. Like chasing this invisible string of just trying to become this, I don't know, person that wasn't gonna ever be a person like that it was who I already was. You are already enough and you don't need to prove yourself to anyone and you don't need to do anything or say anything or wear anything. Like you should love you exactly the way you are with all your flaws, with all your imperfections, because that is who you are at the end of the day. And I think that is the most important thing.
I love that. And what a great ending to this episode. I've loved every second of this. This has been awesome. Ellie, thank you so much for being here. Please, everyone, go check out her podcast. It's cringe, but it's
Yes.
true. She's on what platforms could I find you on?
Spotify and Apple Podcasts, or you can watch on YouTube.
Okay. Please go check those out.
Yeah.
But
Thank you so much, Zach. This has been amazing. You're the best.
I'm not.
It's so
You
over.
helped me get here. You helped me get here. But yes, this episode is so over. But next week and every week after, we'll
We're
be
so back.
so very back. Once again, I'm Zach Stoffer. This is Ellie. Thank you so much for being here. I will catch y'all next week.
Bye, guys.